Hey everybody, it's George from DinosaurGeorge.com. I am so sorry that it's taken me so long to get back to answering all of your questions. My schedule has been incredibly insane. I was tied up in my traveling exhibit, so I am so sorry. So let's dive right into it. My first question comes from my friend Werimo from Geneva, Switzerland. Werimo, so nice to hear from you again. I'm sorry I haven't answered all of your questions. He asked, were there dinosaurs in Kenya? Yeah, there are hundreds and hundreds of dinosaur specimens coming out of Africa, and unfortunately, I'm not familiar enough to know exactly what location they're from. I want to say though that I read something about a dinosaur. I think his name was Ardonyx or something like that. I think he was a sauropod. I know for certain he came out of Kenya specifically. Unfortunately, my friend, I just don't know all the specifics, but I do know that thousands, well, maybe not thousands, but certainly hundreds of species are coming out of Africa, and it is a remarkable place. I'd love to go there. All right, my buddy Zack from Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Dear George, first off, hope you have a happy birthday and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Zack, thank you so much. My birthday is December the 18th. Thank you for remembering, and I wish you and your family certainly a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well. Here's this question. If T-Rex moved in family groups with both parents, which do you believe would have watched the juveniles more closely? That's a good question, Zack. That's really kind of cool. Obviously, we look at birds as a good reference source for predatory dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex. And in the bird family, with a couple of exceptions, it is the female who absolutely takes on the role as being in charge, if you want to use that word, being in charge of raising the young. The males oftentimes don't spend as much time. Now, that's not always the case. I learned a very valuable lesson one time when I tried to take a swan egg out of a nest that I found. The male showed up and beat me half to death with his wings. You've never seen anything so funny as seeing a grown man running for his life, being chased by a maniac swan who's trying to kill him for stealing the eggs. So certainly I think that if something messed with the babies, both adults would have no hesitation in attacking whatever is bothering them. But I would guess the female probably would spend more time actually nurturing and taking care of the young. That's my guess. Okay, Nathan from Arp, Montana. Do you think any dinosaurs live now? Yes, my father is very old, Nathan, and I think he might be a dinosaur. Okay, that's not nice. Yeah, let me tell you. First of all, if in fact predatory dinosaurs are as closely related to birds as we suspect, then technically there are dinosaurs still around us. We just see them flying through our backyards and flying through trees. It would be the family of birds. But if you're talking about the real dinosaurs, the things that look like dinosaurs, I don't know, Nathan. I would like to think that this planet is so big that there are certainly things unknown to us that maybe one day will be discovered. Whether or not we could ever get the chance to really see a true living, breathing dinosaur, meaning dinosaurs the way they used to look, I don't think so, Nathan. I wish, man. I really wish, but I don't think so. Jonathan from Tyler, Texas. Do you think some dinosaurs lived through the disaster that killed the dinosaurs? Another good question, Jonathan, and it kind of goes to Nathan's question. There's no evidence that I've seen that says that the true dinosaurs, what we think of dinosaurs, survived after the end of the Cretaceous. I just have never seen anything that supports that. Now again, birds obviously made it through. There were birds living at the time of the true dinosaurs, and there are birds living today. So they clearly made it. So if you subscribe to the idea that birds and predatory dinosaurs are almost one and the same, then yes, some did. But again, there's enough differences for me to know that clearly, in my opinion, what we see today as birds are different than predatory dinosaurs in that there's enough differences, in my opinion, to classify them in two different groups. But you look at the skeleton of predatory dinosaurs, man, there is no doubt they are incredibly, incredibly bird-like. Okay, Kristo. Kristo is from, I think it's pronounced Tallinn. I think that's correct. Who is the biggest theropod in the world? Is it Spinosaurus? Kristo, this is a great question, but it's a tough one to answer because here's the problem. There have been a lot of discoveries of some really big theropods, but not enough of them has been found to clearly understand how big they may have been or may have grown to be. It's true that most people think that Spinosaurus was certainly the longest predatory dinosaur. And I do agree with that from what I can see. Spinosaurus may have been the longest. But being the longest and being the biggest are two different things. Take, for instance, a giraffe and an elephant. If I ask you who's the longest, you're going to tell me it's a giraffe, and you would be right. But which is the biggest? When you're looking at body mass, then the elephant. So Spinosaurus may have been the longest, but here's what I think. I believe Tyrannosaurus rex may have grown a little bit bigger than what we think, and he may still be the biggest predatory dinosaur. Maposaurus and Giganotosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus, those are three major contenders for the biggest dinosaur. And then there's Saurophaganax and there's Epanterius. Now, Epanterius and Saurophaganax may be one and the same dinosaur, but whatever they are, they're also gigantic predators. So to be able to answer that question, unfortunately, we can't, because we've not found enough evidence from those other dinosaurs to clearly understand who grew to be the biggest. But whatever the case, all of those dinosaurs I mentioned were big, big dudes. Okay, Johnston from Edmonton, Canada. Man, I love it up there, Johnston. I'd love to live in Canada. My wife and I are having a disagreement. Oh, man. I don't want to get in the middle of this. She thinks that a Triceratops would kill a Brontosaurus in a fight. And I say Brontosaurus would crush the Triceratops. What do you think? Well, the term Brontosaurus, I understand what you're talking about. You're just talking about sauropods for everybody that is familiar with it. Brontosaurus is the common name that we used to use to describe what is now considered to be a Patasaurus. Johnston, Brontosaurus, the dinosaur we think of as Brontosaurus, and Triceratops, they didn't live at the same time. But there were some sauropods that lived at the same time, meaning they're from the same family of Brontosaurus. So when you look at Triceratops and you look at one of these big Cretaceous sauropods, man, I agree with you, unfortunately. Now, please, if your wife sees this, tell her not to send me hate mail. I'm very sorry. But you're right. The difference in size is so staggering that it would not be a competition. Certainly, Triceratops could hurt the guy in his foot and leg, but that would be about it. The sauropods, especially the big titanosaurs and some of those guys that were around at the end of the Cretaceous, they are so ginormous that they just would have been way too much. I don't think the animals ever would have fought. I don't think they would have done that. They probably would have gotten along fine, but in the case. So, Johnston, if you need somebody at your divorce trial, please don't call me. My schedule is really busy. All right. And finally, my very good friend Rodrigo from Monterrey, Mexico. He says, I have a question about Majungatholus. First of all, I hope you're fine. I miss your Ask the Dinosaur George videos. You know, Rodrigo, I miss making these things, and I've got a lot to do, and I suspect I probably have 20 or 30 of these to film this week. Hopefully I can get them all done. He said, I'll send you something on Facebook. Rodrigo is one of my friends on Facebook. If for those of you that want to join Facebook, go to my website, dinosaurgeorge.com, and you can sign up to be one of my friends on Facebook. He says, some people think that they were part of the Pachycephalosaurus family, they being Majungatholus. Okay, here's the deal, Rodrigo. They're not really part of the Pachycephalosaurus family at all. Here's the confusion. When they first found the first parts of this dinosaur, they found that round dome that sits on top of his head. And they thought that that dome was the dome from something like a pachycephalosaur. They now realize that these dinosaurs have nothing whatsoever to do with each other. Pachycephalosaurus and Majungatholus, who also goes by the name Majungasaurus, which I think is now the proper term. Those dinosaurs are totally and absolutely different, but they had a similar feature. All right, you guys, that's it for this first one. It feels so good to be back sending these out to you. For those of you that have a question, go to my website, dinosaurgeorge.com. Click on the Ask Dinosaur George page. Send me your email. Do me a favor. Try to make it short and to the point, because sometimes when I get those real long ones, I just can't answer them. All right, you guys, take care, everybody. For you young people, make sure to practice your reading and make absolutely sure to use good manners. Take care, everybody. I'll be sending more of these shortly.